for proceeding to be blessed by this powerful content. Help this page growth by clicking the subscription button to subscribe to the channel, like, post, comment and share. Livingstone's Films. Reaching the world with Christ through media. Tragedy strikes all of us at different times in our lives. For the believer, those hardships inform our faith through the experience of God's grace at work in our lives. Difficulty is the place we learn the greatest lessons about God's faithfulness to us. Paul and Silas found themselves wrongfully imprisoned in the jail in Acts chapter 16. The song they sing at midnight changes everything and demonstrates the power of the gospel to impact lives even in the worst of circumstances. Consider the story behind this well-loved hymn and be encouraged in the grace of the Lord Jesus to navigate through the huddles of life. Precious Lord, Take My Hands by Thomas Andrew Dorsey. 1. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn through the storm, through the night. Lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. 2. When my way grows drear. Precious Lord, linger near, when my life is almost gone. Hear my cry, hear my call. Hold my hand lest I fall. 3. When the darkness appears and the night draws near, and the day is past and gone, at the river I stand, guide my feet, hold my hand. Many hymns are conceived in the throes of tragedy. Precious Lord was written in Chicago in 1932 following the death of Thomas Dorsey's wife Nettie and infant son during childbirth. Dorsey, 1899 to 1993, was born in Georgia. His father was a Baptist preacher, and his mother a piano teacher. Known as the father of black gospel music, Dorsey combined African American church hymns such as those by Methodist minister Charles A. Tindley, 1851 to 1933, with blues and jazz. This worldly combination was not without controversy at first, but set the tone for gospel music for decades to come. Born in Villarica, Georgia, Dorsey was reared in Atlanta from the age of 5, where he came in contact with the musical sounds of the blues. He moved to Chicago in 1915 and studied at the Chicago College of Composition and Arranging and began playing in nightclubs under a variety of names as a young man, including Georgia Tom, Texas Tommy and Barrelhouse Tom. Dorsey started to play rent parties, house parties in which tenants would hire a musician or band to play for a party and pass the hat to raise money to pay their rent. The rent party played a major role in the development of jazz and blues music. Dorsey put together the Wildcats Jazz Band to play for Ma Rainey in 1925. His wife, Nettie, was Rainey's wardrobe mistress. After suffering a severe illness in 1926, Dorsey was converted in 1928 and became active in Pilgrim Baptist Church in Chicago. Beginning in 1932, he served as the church's choir director for 40 years. Of his 1,000 musical works, at least 200 were gospel songs. He promoted the gospel song through the formation of the National Association of Gospel Choirs and Choruses, serving as the organization's president. Black musicians during the pre-civil rights era often formed their own publishing companies in order to make their music available. He began the Thomas A. Dorsey Gospel Song Music Publishing Company, a publisher of inexpensive gospel blues music. Even though he had hundreds of jazz and blues songs to his credit, he turned to gospel music, one of the first to use that term, following the tragic death of Nettie and their infant son in 1932. Dorsey provides an account of the circumstances surrounding the composition of this famous song. Back in 1932 I was 32 years old and a fairly new husband. My wife, Nettie, and I were living in a little apartment on Chicago's South Side. One hot August afternoon I had to go to St. Louis, where I was to be the featured soloist at a large revival meeting. I didn't want to go. Nettie was in the last month of pregnancy with our first child. But a lot of people were expecting me in St. Louis. In the steaming St. Louis heat, the crowd called on me to sing again and again. When I finally sat down, a messenger boy ran up with a Western Union telegram. I ripped open the envelope. Pasted on the yellow sheet were the words, "Your wife just died." When I got back, I learned that Nettie had given birth to a boy. I swung between grief and joy, yet that night, the baby died. I buried Nettie and our little boy together, in the same casket. Then I fell apart. For days I closeted myself. I felt that God had done me an injustice. I didn't want to serve him anymore or write gospel songs. I just wanted to go back to that jazz world I once knew so well. But still I was lost in grief. Everyone was kind to me, especially a friend, Professor Fry, who seemed to know what I needed. On the following Saturday evening he took me up to Malone's Poorer College, a neighborhood music school. It was quiet. The late evening sun crept through the curtained windows. I sat down at the piano, and my hands began to browse over the keys. Dorsey remembered an old pentatonic, 5-note, melody from his Sunday school days, Maitland, the United Methodist Hymnal, number 424, by George Allen, 1812 to 1877, paired with the text, "Must Jesus bear the cross alone?" Arranging this tune and adding his own words, "Precious Lord" became the most famous of his many gospel songs. He gave the song to Fry, who introduced it to the choir at Atlanta's Ebenezer Baptist Church the next Sunday, an event that, Dorsey later remarked, tore up the church. Martin Luther King, Sr. was the pastor of Ebenezer at this time, beginning his ministry there in 1931. The three stanzas capture the grief not only of Dorsey, but also of any who have suffered significant loss. The opening line of stanza 1, "Precious Lord, take my hand," indicates a suffering soul that is reaching out. The singer acknowledges that they are at the end of their rope. "I'm tired, I'm weak, I'm warm." Perhaps Dorsey was referring to Matthew 8:23-27, the narrative where Christ stills the storm, when he bend, through the storm, through the night, lead me unto the light. Stanza 2 draws upon the imagery of a journey, one in which the way grows drear. The traveler cries out, and once again reaches for the hand of Christ. The third stanza begins, "When the darkness appears," reminiscent of Psalm 23:4, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." By the time we reach the third stanza, the terrain has changed from a stormy sea, stanza 1, a long road, stanza 2, to a river of hope, stanza 3. Upon singing, "At the river I stand," the singer reaches at last the final destination, the symbolic Jordan River. Each stanza concludes effectively with the refrain, "Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home," perhaps an image of the Good Shepherd in the Gospel of John. Precious Lord has been recorded by many famous singers, including Elvis Presley, Mahalia Jackson, Roy Rogers, and Tennessee Ernie Ford. Martin Luther King Jr. drew inspiration from this, his favorite song. It was sung at the rally in Memphis the night before the civil rights leader's assassination. President Lyndon B. Johnson requested that Precious Lord be sung at his funeral. Dorsey was the first African American elected to the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame and the Gospel Music Association's Living Hall of Fame. Subscribe to Living Stones Films for edifying gospel contents. Don't forget to give the video a like, share and leave a comment below. Living Stones Films, reaching the world with Christ through media.